I am back after 3 long weeks. I am well rested now and I am ready to do this. Okay. I want to first give you guys an update on what's been happening with Suriname and the Surinamese diaspora, I should say. So for one, we have like a huge win in the Netherlands. Sylvana Simons, who is a Dutch politician who was actually born in Suriname, has just been inaugurated into the Dutch parliament. This is a big deal because she is the first Black woman to be inaugurated into the Dutch parliament. And I even think probably the first the first Black person, period. I'm not too sure. But I also believe that she's the first Black woman in Europe with her own political party. That's a big deal, right? Because it's not easy for Black people to get into European politics, I can imagine. We have the same thing here in America, but a few more doors have been opened, but she's basically like breaking barriers to like set it up for more people of color to like enter the Dutch parliament. So that's a big deal. And then we have the Surinamese national soccer team. They are currently in the process of qualifying for the World Cup. They're in a game called the CONCACAF, I believe. Right now, they've been competing against other teams. They recently competed against a team in Tampa and they won. So I'm just, keeping an eye on that. I'm not really a fan of soccer, but because it's Suriname, I'm going to follow. Okay, if you say the word Suriname, I'm there. As far as things that I've been doing, my kids, always my kids. So as far as things that I've been doing, I don't know if many of you guys know this, but I'm actually a social worker by trade. I was recently honored by the National Action Network, the New York chapter, for my work as a social worker. And yeah, that was a big honor for me. I didn't expect it, but I'm happy that I got it. And I'm just going to keep hustling, trying to, do the things that I can do in my community as a social worker and also as, the CEO of Rutu Lobby, to like support Surinamese people in the diaspora and also in Suriname. As far as my next project, so if you haven't seen it already, I had recently uploaded a short video of promotion for my Timbe and Paint workshop. So Timbe and Paint is going to be a series of events where I basically bring in Surinamese creatives to teach guests virtually on how to do different styles of art that are popular in Suriname. This particular edition is going to be co-facilitated and taught by Tifane Okuba. She's a young fashion designer from Suriname. She's been in fashion weeks in the Caribbean, and yeah, I'm excited about that. So let's get into this video now. Enough of the self-promotion and the promotion of Suriname, which I will never stop doing. And if you look at my, my little speech there, I had to rep it with my pungi and my Suriname face mask. Had to keep it safe, double up the mask, guys. Always wear masks. I don't care who it is you're around, or, if they're not in your immediate family, put a mask on. So I have been struggling in my marriage. And why I believe I've been struggling in my marriage is because the way that my marriage began. I got married the wrong way. I was under the impression that when I get married, that the choice of who I get married to, how I get married, is all on me. And I think that's basically a side effect of living in America. In America, we're like really individualistic. Everything is around what I want, what I need. Is not really collective. And what I came to learn through actually a post that was on a group for Surinamese people is that actually when you get married in Surinamese culture, you're supposed to the families are supposed to intertwine, basically. So the man of interest, the man who is deciding that he wants to and it's not necessarily marriage, right? Also, from what I understand, is like if you want to live with a woman. So ideally, if you start living with a woman, she's basically like your wife. So you would have to court her via her family. You would start helping her dad out in whatever business or whatever job he does, or around the compound of where they live. You would become familiar with her family. And then you would have to go, I believe, to, I think the youngest, I think in the post, it said you got to go to like your youngest uncle, I believe, and then he is going to if you decide that you want to get married, he would then arrange for you to, you know, ask. You go to before the family of the girl you want to marry or be with, and then you know, they will broker whatever deals they will broker about what needs to be exchanged for this marriage or union between the families, and then the family of the woman will decide, like, of course with the woman's input, if, you know, this should go on, right? So they also want to know like what your family name is, like where you come from. They want to make sure that you're a good family. A lot of these things that they are doing is something that I've seen in like different African countries. And I always thought like, oh, that's what that's far removed from me, because this is stuff that happened in African countries. This is not something that that we stopped doing, that slavery took away all of this stuff from us. But it was a surprise for me to learn that these were things that were still being done. The photo I'm showing you is actually a photo of a wedding in a district in Suriname, and I think this probably, I don't know the exact century or when this happened, but it's pretty recent. Like, not recent, but they have pictures, so it's recent. It's just amazing that this particular culture, even in Suriname, it's kind of been removed, where a man comes and he courts through the family, and the families get together and they decide whether or not you're going to get married. And then when he says yes, the engagement is supposed to be an engagement party where gifts are exchanged, gold, pongies, like, you know, this one, I'm like, not particularly this one, this is more modern, but pongies are exchanged and all this stuff. You know, this is a cultural thing that's important for the union of families. So when I say I got married the wrong way, I felt like when I got married with my husband, it was like my mother wasn't for it. My mom did not want it. My husband is 10 years older than I am. I wasn't a minor or anything. I was like 22 when he and I began dating. But my mother had her concerns. And being the hard-headed me, I didn't want to hear it. Yes, my husband was a good man. He still is a good man. Yeah. Got issues, but there were things that my mom knew about, experienced, and same thing goes for my father, who he knew and experienced certain things that they were trying to tell me, but I didn't want to hear, because I had my own issues, I guess, with them, and I felt like you guys never taught me anything. So this is another issue that I have in my relationship with my parents, is that they never gave me a guide of like what they wanted me to do when it came to marriage and children. It was just this. They told me that they wanted me to go to school. I went to school. I finished school. By this time, I already had a master's in social work from Columbia. I did everything that they wanted. So in my head, I'm like, you always said, this is something that Surinamese parents say, your first boyfriend is your diploma, right? I got multiple diplomas now. So I had like 3 boyfriends at this point, and now I'm considering getting married. But you guys never told me how to get married. So how am I supposed to know that this is I was never like nurtured to think like collectively. We came here, not we, but my parents came here to America, and they were alone, and there was really not that much immediate family around. So this whole idea of like me getting married and the family being involved in it was kind of foreign to me. I was never taught about this, right? And now that I'm really like searching my family history and researching my culture, I'm starting to learn these different things about where I come from, and they would have been helpful when I was like deciding to get married, right? My husband, I love him. but I want to kill him sometimes, right? And I couldn't understand why, right? I just couldn't understand why I always just want to kill my husband. I literally kill him, but we always fight and we always bumping heads. And even though we decided, me and my husband got married, and if you look at my wedding pictures, my mom and my dad are not there. His mom and his dad are not there. That was the number one mistake. Our parents weren't there. So it's like, how could you get married without your parents? We had friends and stuff there, but our family just wasn't there. Our immediate family, my brother wasn't there. It was just, I think it was a bad way to start my marriage. So we always like had to figure things out in the beginning of our marriage. We always had to figure things out between each other. And then eventually we became more closer with our families because we had children. We want our children to have relationships with their grandparents. And that's where we started to develop those relationships. And then it became that every time we had an argument or issue, I'm calling my family, right? He's calling his family. So now our family's being put in the middle of it, but they were never there for the beginning of the union. So it's kind of unfair to them, that, they're kind of be put through this, I think. And we could have kind of discussed these type of issues at the beginning, and we could have kind of had an understanding and some type of system in place to deal with like quarrels. And I think like in African culture and a lot of the tribal culture and stuff, there are like systems in place. And I believe also like I'm starting to research, so there might be a system in place in Surinamese culture as well to deal with these sorts of things. But we were never taught these things. My parents were born in the 60s. They were like young adults in the 80s. And I think by that time, a lot of this culture was gone. It's like for them, I think my parents, they also didn't get together the traditional way, which was also a problem, which is probably why they didn't last too long, right? All of these things are things that I wish I knew, right? It helps us to put things together into perspective. At one particular point in my marriage, I was like, which was actually just like last year, I was just like, I need to figure out what's wrong. And somebody suggested that I get a astrology birth chart for my husband and myself. And when I got that birth chart, I thought this woman was like sitting in my window or something, because everything that she wrote, I'm going to drop, her name is Raw Vegan Goddess, I think, on Instagram. I'm gonna drop her information down on the bottom. So she is an her name is Femi. So she compiled a long, like this report was like at least 5 pages. So it uses my birthday, time of place, like the geographical coordinates of where I was born, the hospital, and the same thing for my husband. And then she does a reading with those things. Some people are not, they do not believe in this stuff, or it goes against their religion, and in which case this is probably not for you. But for me, it was helpful because with the birth chart and the reading that she gave me, I was able to understand where I was going wrong in my relationship and where my husband may have been is going wrong, and is sometimes it's like an on and off thing. And that's what I came to understand with the chart, right? Where he's going wrong and where I'm going wrong. So it's an energy thing. We like to remove ourselves from nature and think that we don't, like, nature has no impact on us, and it has a lot of impact on us. The sun, the moon, everything, any aspect or element of the earth has an effect on us. And sometimes on different times of the day or year, you might have a certain energy pull than you would have another time, and that mixture of what's going on with you compiled with what's going on with somebody else can create a problem sometimes. And understanding when and how that's going to happen is very helpful. So when I got the birth chart, I read it, I understood it for a time. Things were going well in my marriage, and then I kind of threw it at the back burner. And then it was just like really bad these past like 3, 4, 5, like a month ago. I was like, I'm gonna divorce this guy, because we have like totally like opposite views on coronavirus and social distancing. So that is a big thing for me, because as a mom, the first thing for me is to protect my children and keep them from getting sick, because I am the primary caretaker when it comes to like if they're sick and taking care of their needs, those sorts of needs. So I don't want them to get sick. And my husband's a little bit more lackadaisical with this type of stuff. And he did something that I did not like. I felt like it was going to endanger my kids when it comes to, and I'm kind of getting a little bit crazy with the coronavirus, social distancing things. Sometimes I do think I take things too far, and I had to reflect on that too, right? And I also have to reflect on the way in which I present certain information to him. Do I talk to him like my husband or like my child? And these are things that were actually like listed in my birth chart. It did make mention that sometimes I could be a little bit of a bully, and that I kind of make it my way or no way. So having this information was helpful for me, because after a while, you know, he and I, we fight, and then we kind of we don't necessarily say sorry or whatever. Like, we just some way somehow always coming back together. And part of my birth chart, our birth chart together, our reading says that we always have a pull together. We can't get rid of each other. Like, we're always, and I feel like that. Like, sometimes we have like the worst arguments, and for whatever reason, we just always click back together. So yeah, the birth chart was very helpful in that. And then also understanding the cultural aspects of how I need to fix my relationship. I need to get back to family, collectively working with my family to raise my children. I don't know how that's going to happen with COVID, but I know once this thing is over that I'm going to do a lot of things differently. And that when my daughter and my son are ready to get married, actually, I'm not even going to wait till they get married. Actually, as they are young children, like my son, when he says, oh, I want to have children or whatever, I say, okay, that's fine. You can have children, but whoever you have children with, make sure this is somebody you really, really like, and that she's a good person. You know, I'm starting to embed those things in my children's mind. Well, not my daughter, she's only 2, right? But as she gets older, I'm dropping little gems to let them know that when you do decide to get married, that the person needs to be nice. And I'm also going to let them know that, you know, our family will be behind them in that choice. You know, it's not going to be just a choice that they make. And, you know, I'm just excited to do these little rites of passage things with my children, because I didn't get a chance to do it with my parents. You know, I want to like have, like, you know, from what I understand, like when a girl gets her menses, you know, you give her a pungi, right? So I want to do that with my pungis like this. I sell these in my store. So these are like fabric. So you give them this particular fabric when they start getting their menses or period. You give a boy I think a piece of gold jewelry whenever he, you know, first gets his little swimmers. You know, you give him jewelry. These are things that I want to implement in my family. Some things I might leave out, some things I might leave in. When I say leave things out, the reason why I might leave them out is because they're probably really dated and they might go against other things that I believe. But as long as they're like things that I feel like I could stand by, I'm gonna do them, right? Just so that my children know that they have a culture that is supportive of them, and there's mechanisms to help them go through life, right? And I want whoever they're with to know that they have support, right? That's number one. Like, if they think that my children are alone, they're more likely to be abused and all this stuff in a relationship. I don't want that for my children. So I'm setting the standard right now. So I'm setting high standard to myself, my children, and I encourage others to do the same. It might not be like, you know, what is done in Surinamese culture, but I'm pretty sure there's something within your culture that speaks to this sort of thing. What is supposed to be done for marriage and children and all that sort of thing, and you just pick and choose, really, you know, what you feel like is gonna work for you and what's not gonna work for you. It's a great way to raise children. Just keep you, your family, and your culture at the forefront. As long as it's not hurting anybody and you're able to grow within it, take your shot. So guys, it was a pleasure, you know, seeing you. Can't really see you, but it's a pleasure seeing you after so long. I'm gonna try to upload more videos. I am working on this Tembe and paint course. That's what I'm doing. I actually have on a pungi that's Tembe style. So Tembe style, which T-Fane explained to me, Tembe is basically like the word for art in Maroon culture. But from what I understand it and see it, whenever we see Tembe or Tembe art or Maroon culture art, it's this type of angular pattern. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like an angular pattern. Either it's painted or it's stitched like this one. And yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful form of art. I'm happy to share this with you guys and also like support creators in Suriname. So stay tuned for that. Visit my website, ruthulobi.com, for updated blogs and products. I'm about to like revamp my store. I need more products in there. So I'm actually working with some more vendors out of Suriname. So check it out.